Hello, 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 and welcome to the Drag Race RHAPup here on reality TV RHAPups. I'm your host, Liana Boraas. We are here to discuss, technically it's episode 3, I believe. Yes, it's episode 3. So
Drag
it's episodes
math.
1 and 2. I keep getting so confused. Anyway, of RuPaul's Drag Race season 15. With us here today, we have a jam-packed and absolutely fabulous panel. First, let me bring in the woman who helped me break down the premiere episode. It is Beth Dixon. Beth, how are you?
I'm doing really well. I thought this was kind of an interesting episode, so I'm really excited to kind of get into things that are not the queen's fault that maybe brought this episode down a little bit.
Oh yeah, we'll get into everything with the God infomercial of it all. And we told y'all he'd be back. It is Aman Adwin. Aman, how are you?
Hi, I'm back. I didn't go anywhere. I'm still here. Had a couple things to take care of. And might I say, I have been enjoying the F out of this season so far. I loved the Jam Pack premiere episode. It was amazing. I've never really been like super anti split premieres, but something about them always just felt like, okay, I just want the season to start. It just never felt like the season was truly starting when I only met half the queens. And to see all of them together, so many personalities, so many people that are like hungry for it. Like I feel like every queen that goes home this season, I'm gonna be like, oh, no, not her. Like I am absolutely in love with all of these queens. I'm having so much fun so far. So I'm happy to be back with all of you guys talking about this season. It should be a good one.
Yes. Okay. We love to hear it. And our very special guest on this week's episode is the one, the only. You hear her all over the RHAP network. It is Mari Forth. Mari, how are you?
Third time's a charm.
As your third time.
Would say. Yes, I'm so glad to be back with you. I'm so excited to talk about this season. Like, I agree with everything Aman said. I just wish that this would have been the season for the split premiere because this is 16 queens. It's 16 queens. I don't know how I feel like I know them, but then I also don't know them. I just want more. So that's why I am truly not opposed to the split premiere because I love like getting able to like spend time with each queen. But other than that, like I'm very excited. I love this season so far. I think my main complaint is I want more of it.
Well, I think that actually is a great place to start because I think, so we had talked a little bit last week about the fact that they're going to an hour-long format. And obviously, this is a change. We've had an hour and a half for a lot of the previous seasons, a full hour of runtime. And Mari, I'm sure that this is exactly the opposite of what you want to see because this episode in particular felt so rushed.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because as drag racers, I feel like when it did go to that hour and a half, like watchers, we were like, what is this? Like, It kind of felt like the episodes were over long. Now I'm like, oh God, this is not enough time. And I'm not the biggest fan of acting challenges. They are probably my least favorite challenge of the group. Yeah. But even I was like, that's it. We get one set. Okay. All right, sure. Okay. Like not enough. Where's the content?
It was definitely a bit jarring going from because they kind of lied last week. They were like 2-hour premiere, and if I'm not mistaken, I stayed in that gay bar for at least 3 hours. Like there was literally no commercials, which I love. That was like, oh my God. But I felt so bad for the local queen that we had because like usually they take the commercial break to, work the room and like get their tips or whatever. But like she would like get on the mic and be like, all right, so what do we think? Okay, well, it's back. Like, never,
like the same thing happened. The same thing happened to a local queen friend of mine, Adriana Trenta in New York City, and she was hosting and she goes, oh, it's your birthday? Okay, everybody happy. And that shut up, it's the back on. He was trying to sing happy birthday to somebody. It was like, no, stop, it's back on.
So to go from that to just our jam-packed, it definitely was a little, I'm questioning what the decision making was behind that. Like, I mean, I know that they went from VH1 to MTV, but they're virtually the same network. I don't understand why we can't just have the hour 30. It's kind of weird.
Well, it's because of a little show called The Friends of WeHo.
Oh my God.
So what I think the biggest issue with this is it's obviously was filmed in a way, like the whole season was whoa, that just my camera zoomed in. That was so weird. It was obviously filmed
dramatic edit zoom in on your face. Oh, okay, no, never mind. Your point's over. No.
You know what? I'm in the basement, so it could be just the internet being weird, but so I apologize in advance. But I think what happened was like this film was filmed probably for VH1 with the format that we're used to, which is probably why we have 16 Queens with the idea that it'd be in an hour and a half. And then probably they moved over to MTV. And probably one of the contingencies of MTV was to say, no, you need an hour-long episode. And they probably had to go through and edit. So it does seem like a rushed edit job more than anything else. And I also don't think they would have chosen to do 16 Queens with this format if they probably had known that. That is my working theory. I like to think that that's probably more of like the administrative business side of things in the background.
Yeah, I saw a comment somewhere that said it's like it's the same format of an hour and a half show, but edited down. So we're hitting all the same beats that we would hit in an hour and a half show. We've got the mirror talk, we've got the act, you know, the actual recording, we've got this, we've got that, like all the things that they would want to include in an hour and a half episode, but obviously have to just chop it all up. And that's why it just felt like, okay, and now this, and now this, and now this. Like the rehearsal part was, I mean, pretty much non-existent. It was like we showed up and then immediately left that part of the show. So
actually, I was kind of fine with that, to be honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for this particular challenge, maybe also I didn't really mind so much.
I kind of generally feel like when they do acting challenges, we spend way too much time figuring out like, oh, so-and-so couldn't remember their line. And then it bears nothing for like the end result. So I'd much rather see the end result. But the problem was we didn't get a mini challenge. And the runway was like, you see him, you don't. You see him, you don't. I'm like, and it just turned into a situation that was like, oh, I blinked and I missed Lucy. Like, what's going on? You know? So I think that this format is going to work perfectly fine when we have half the amount of cast in there. It's going to be absolutely fine. We're going to have the storytelling, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think moving forward, if this is what the format's going to be, production has to make sure that they have an appropriately sized cast and, you know, list of format for it, you know?
And it's absolutely insane. Go ahead, Mari.
No. I was just gonna say, because I think the problem what last season was, they had a episode order for 16 episodes, but they only had 13 queens, 14 queens. So that's why there were so many episodes where they had to like let people slide so that they could get the full edit. So this time they're like, let's do 16 so we can chop people up at the same time. But then which I'm fine with, but then I truly do agree with Beth. I think that move to MTV was not planned at all. I think they're like, oh, we have the Friends of WeHo, and if we move Drag Race to MTV, it's a destination night, and it just it's not working for the 16 queens. And come on, y'all, it's not. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Snatch Game episode is the episode that's going to lead into the new show. But Snatch Game, 14 queens, an hour. I'm dreading it. I'm sorry.
2 Snatch Games.
2. I think RuPaul
There's
said
going
2.
to be 2. They're splitting the queens up. There's going to be 2 Snatch Games. How? 2 Snatch Games in a 40-minute episode, essentially. Like
it's absolutely
42
insane.
minutes.
I'm sorry. Those 2 minutes are gonna count.
And a runway. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I just don't know why they chose to do it that way. Like 2 Snatch Games, like it's absolutely insane. And all for what? For the WeHo gays? Like I'm like, look, I really want to keep my internalized homophobia to a minimum, but I'm just like I'm just like, why? Like, why? It just, and then for it to have who is on it, I'm not even going to name names. I'm just like, it just feels very gratuitous. It just feels like the gays just want to be included in a space that's like not necessarily meant for them. Like, let the housewives have their thing, okay? Like, just let them have their thing. We don't need it, but you know what? Maybe we're all speaking too soon. Maybe I'm sure someone will continue if they won't turn off their TV after Drag Race is over, and they'll watch it and they'll be like, actually, it's really good. So who knows? But
that person is Andy Cohen. He's welcome to bring that to Bravo. Get it away from
they can have it.
It just feels so like we're gonna put it right after Drag Race so that we can get them. I'm like, no, you're not getting me. It's not working.
I mean, at least the online fandom has reacted so freaking negatively to this that I'm hoping that will actually have some action. In terms
I want to
of,
shout out.
to do.
Yeah, I want to shout out my friend Brandon, known as Monster Cat Woo online, who literally started a
I saw that.
petition that has over 13,000 signatures for it
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh.
Like, he was like, maybe I'm being petty. I was like, you are, but you know what? This is the audience with which to be petty. So,
Right.
so good.
Well, let's talk about this actual episode and get into all of the nitty gritty of the main challenge. As Beth mentioned, no mini challenge, so we can just jump right on into the main affair here. So the queens were tasked with selling their vision of the afterlife, where each of the teams, there are 3 teams, are going to have to plan every evil detail and essentially sell it in an infomercial. I didn't really get infomercial from any of these videos, but we'll talk about it all. Another wrinkle of this is how the 3 teams were chosen. So you had Anitra. There's 16. Okay, give me a break. Anitra gets to pick her team first because she won the Maxi Challenge last week. Amethyst, who won the lip sync, gets to pick her team second, and like completely, not even, any type of back-to-back draft. And then the leftovers are just the leftovers.
The leftovers.
Who wants to start with this? Because I think that there is so much to talk about here.
I can't. This is so. Why did we do it like this? Was it specifically just to get into one team's like head and make them feel not good, because it worked? But also, I think I misunderstood the directive, because I was looking for drag queen heaven. I thought it was specifically drag queen heaven. But now that you said afterlife, Liana, I'm like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, because I feel like we got a heaven, a purgatory, and a hell.
Which
Like,
was actually, if that had been assigned, hey, we have 3 teams, one of you has to do hell, one of you has to do purgatory, one of you has to do heaven, that would have been
better.
like, I think a little bit more direct for what it. I think this was just too loose for a production standpoint. They needed to tighten it down a little bit with what the directions were.
Yeah, I didn't like you said, Leon. I didn't get like infomercial necessarily. I just got like skits about interpretations of gay heaven, which, like, I mean, it's just an acting challenge. So I guess at the end of the day, whatever, as long as you make RuPaul laugh, it's gonna go over well for you. But it did feel very like, normally you always like get the theme of whatever the challenge is supposed to be. And because so many of them were sort of like so different, you were kind of just like, what the hell is going on? And on top of the fact that we already mentioned in that it was like shortened, which I didn't necessarily hate too much, not because like half the time a lot of the queens aren't the greatest actors, but it also sort of like left me wondering, okay, so who was the worst? Because they sort of like painted a lot of them in a negative light. And even Sasha Colby, who ended up winning the challenge, I was like, okay, did Michelle like what was going on or not? So I did sort of like the fact that they sort of like wanted to keep a little bit of the mystery open. It kind of felt very Survivor edit to me. I was like, oh, so what's gonna happen? Like, so I enjoyed that aspect of it.
But that's because I don't think anybody did a good job. I mean, not that people did fine. But like, I think the reason why it was like, oh, who's gonna be in the top is because like Lucy, I was like, okay, well, Lucy probably for her Dolly Parton impression, and then Rue was cackling at the whoosh, like that part from Sasha Colby. So I was like, okay, so those 2, and then question mark, and then is everyone else going to be in the bottom? Like, I thought legit all of team 3 except for maybe Sugar was going to end up in the bottom. So
yeah.
I wonder if they were trying to do something different and it kind of just backfired, because to me this feels like the acting challenges where if you go back to season 11, like the horror movie ones where they gave each team a different like horror movie. Like, I feel like I would like that a little bit more, where they have like a clear directions. Maybe it's all each team has a different directive, like we said. But it seems like they try to put the acting challenge with the infomercial challenge, and it didn't come across well.
Yeah. I think it was too many things while also not being clear enough in what the details are. And I think it also, and probably this is the edit more than anything else, but it also seemed like they had no time to plan it. So when Michelle's like, wow, you guys aren't prepared, I was like, well, at least from an audience perspective, we saw them for 3 minutes. So I don't know. Were they given a normal amount of time with 3 teams? Did 2 teams have more time to work on something than the first team who went in? Like, there's aspects of the timing of that we will probably never know, which is fine. But I just think,
And we spent so much time like on focusing on one team, particularly with Sugar's team, which I must say, I love the twins. I love the twins.
They're so good.
Love the damn
Dundale
twins. I might be biased because I myself am a twin. I am not an identical twin, but I still have that twin thing in me. So I'm just like, I love the twins. But I will say I can understand when people get annoyed a little bit over the past 3 episodes because it does seem like it's very twin heavy, which I'm sure is all just like going to coalesce in a Sugar and Spice bottom 2, and they have to lip sync for the labs and send one of the 2 home. I get it. Like, I understand what's going on. But like for this episode in particular, we did focus heavily on Sugar's journey as she was getting shut out from the deliberation about what the challenge was going to be like with Jax and everything. So yeah, I feel like the planning of, we're not getting like the same types of like beats that we got like with our 45 minutes because it's so rushed that like it's like, okay, so what was the actual plan that they set forth? Okay, now let's see how the workroom plan is in comparison with what actually happens in front of Michelle, and then that was cut short as well. So then when we get to the end of it all, we're like, what happened? What is going on?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the final product didn't help us with that either.
Yeah.
What did I just watch?
Go ahead, Mari.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we went into each one of those completely blind. Like, I had no idea what like each team's storyline. I had no idea.
I knew that Lucy was gonna do a Dolly Parton impression because that was mentioned, and I think Sasha Colby was gonna be God. And that was about it that I got. I mean, this is the thing. So just a general thought on sort of the way that the challenge went. When I heard infomercial, I thought they were gonna be like selling the afterlife, right? And all it costs you is your life, or all it costs you is like you have to pay penance or something like that. Like that's you have to pay. Do you want to come to this afterlife? Not that after, right? Something like that.
Low-key, Liana just did a funnier joke both times in the entire episode.
It's like you have to sell it, right? Okay, that's what I thought what was going to happen. So, totally to Mari's point, which is like, what? When I watched the individual ones, especially the third one, I just had absolutely no idea what was going on the entire time. So that was what made watching it just so confusing.
It was a bad look for Jax because like Jax was like so like, okay,
oh my God,
you guys are just talking, so I'm gonna take over, we're gonna get this done, we're gonna write it down, and then we get there and Michelle's like, what did y'all do? It's like, oh God, like this is not.
Yeah, let's
improv. They made it harder for themselves.
We'll just figure it out.
The one thing I think I did understand from the short edit we got from it, they had like no lines prepared.
She said I don't even outline.
Oh my God. I feel like they had no storyboard, no scenery set up.
And then Jax claimed the writing when Jax is on the runway. I was like, don't do that. Okay, so let's just set this up. So team number 3, which we're talking about right now, the total hot mess team, the team leftovers, unfortunately, Sugar, Jax, Malaysia, Mistress, and Robin. Those were the 3 queens that were in that third group. And yeah, it seemed like they just went in with absolutely no plan, and it completely reflected in the actual final product because it was just unclear what was happening the whole time. Like Sugar was trying her best to at least do something entertaining, and then the other queens were also there.
The other part about that's just so wild to me is that everybody except for Jax was safe on this team. Like they clearly did the worst.
Yes.
Not saying it was a really high bar to do the worst because team 2 was also very hot messy, but this was just clearly so much worse. And I just kind of watched this and I was like, yeah, I understand why Jax would be in the bottom. I understand that. But Jax at least tried to take control and try. I'm going to be a Jax apologist for this episode. Lots of people online are going for her, and I don't understand that at all. Like, I can understand being in a situation where people are just throwing out ideas, but nothing is getting organized or done. But hopefully this is a learning situation for all of them, not just Jax, but moving forward to go, okay, so we need to be able to write an outline, but also then hear what other people are saying. And someone needs to be able to like write that stuff down and
for
contribute
sure.
it.
Like I was thinking about it too. I was like, well, I think that I would like if I am like putting myself in their shoes and I'm a queen on RuPaul's Drag Race season 15 and this is the second week and we're in an acting challenge and there's this one little twin that is just like I feel like I definitely would be the person that's like, all right, we got to get this done. But it's also like you also have to understand that it's Drag Race and like it's a game, and the card, like if you draw the leadership card, you have to know the risk that comes with that card. You drew it, and now it's like it's gonna be on you. So I think that what Jack should have done was just helped Sugar channel those ideas into that script as opposed to being like, shh, you're doing too much. Because that I think is where a lot of people were like, okay, but she was actually having a better time. And I really appreciated what Sugar was trying to inject. She was like, it's fun. Like it's just a fun, silly competition. Like, why are we taking it so seriously? And I was like, I think a lot of queens do that a lot to themselves. Like and I would probably do the same thing. I'd probably be like, no, it's gotta be perfect. We gotta have this joke here, RuPaul's gonna laugh there, pause for applause. Okay, and then go. Like, it's just like, you gotta have fun with it.
Sugar understands. She's clearly a student of Drag Race. She understands you just have to make RuPaul laugh, right? And when I went back and watched the episode again, Sugar did technically come up with this concept of like a drag hag heaven, right? And I think what they did is I do think Jax did just take like Sugar's ideas. I think the problem was they didn't find a way to make it into a cohesive story.
Right.
And as we're like literally as we're talking about it, I think I'm finally realizing I thought they were supposed to be selling this heaven to drag queens. I think they took it as you're selling heaven to people who like drag queens.
Their concept was very, we're selling this to white women who like going to drag bars. That's what it was. And it was for Liana and me.
It's for me. I'm totally a white girl, you said.
Maybe it's because I am that white girl, but I got that immediately. But I just didn't think it was a good idea.
It wasn't good. Yeah, and I think the point of them actually also highlighting that for you it might be heaven, but for the drag queens it's hell, that confuses the plot because I'm like, but this is supposed to be drag queen heaven. It's almost like they kind of try to do The Good Place, but just in 3 minutes, and you can't do that, you know.
But I think again, like having a directive that would have been clear would have been easier for this team to focus on it. But at the same time, I do think that's a really great high level concept that somebody else's heaven is somebody else's hell. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that that's a really great concept. If they had stuff written down and jokes, it may have come across.
And I love the self-awareness of like them knowing how they were going to be perceived while they were like in the middle of the competition, with Mistress being Eureka and Malaysia being Silky and Robin being who was she? Jada. Like I really enjoyed that they were like in on that joke. So that was the part that was probably the strongest like part of the skit for me.
That was a good part. Yeah.
Let's talk about team number 2, who I think was also, I mean, if I had to rank them, it'd be 1, 2, 3. I don't know if that's the laugh track speaking, but this is the team that actually had more people on the bottom, 2 people on the bottom, which I thought was an interesting choice. So this was team number 2, which was Team Amethyst with Lucy, Spice, Poppy, and Aura. Yes. Okay. They did also a skit. I don't know how to describe it. It was also a bit confusing for me. But they had Dolly Parton as God. You can tell which part I remember from the skit. I've mentioned Dolly Parton now like 3 times.
It was the only good part. And this team, I think even though team 3 was bad, this team kind of made me uncomfortable, but not because of the jokes. Like,
oh, okay.
It's like the judges nailed it. Like, blue humor, yes, give it to me. and Marin, I think she nailed it too. Like the joke went too long, and then it just got not funny, and it just got me like, oh, okay. Like,
The problem was, it was like they were trying to go for absurdist humor, but didn't know the timing. And for someone like Amethyst, who claims to be a comedian, you need the timing for that kind of thing. And like, I didn't understand how she didn't know how to be like, hop in and out. Like, why is it like slow fade in, slide back to the left? Like, and like, it wasn't funny. It wasn't like a Wes Anderson film where everybody just stares at the camera. Like, it was like that's what they were going for, but just completely bombed it. I don't know. It was so bad. And like you said, Mari, it made those like sexual jokes just uncomfortable. It wasn't funny. You were like, oh, like she's in a kiddie pool and this shot is taking a long time and I'm not laughing. I feel like I shouldn't be watching this. Like, I don't know. Like, I just
the fellatio humor was just like not hitting the way that it should, and I just wanted to like get in there and like do it for her. Well, not really do it, but like
well,
because like Michelle was just like, okay, Amethyst, that part needs to be like, it has to be. Yeah, you have to like really, it has to snap. If it's not snapping, then it's not funny. And even when she went ahead and redid it, it was like a whole "we're rooting for us" like part again.
Yeah.
I was just like, get it right. Just get it right, please.
I think so. Okay. So the one other joke I will say I thought was funny, I think was also Lucy's joke that was like cheek filler and cheek filler. I thought that was cute. I was like, okay, that's funny. I think upon reflection, maybe part of the reason why more queens were in the bottom from this group than the third group is because there were like actual critiques, if that makes sense. Like you could say to Amethyst, like, okay, this was too slow, or like you did this wrong. Whereas with the third group, it's just like, I don't know, it's just all fucked up. Like, I don't know what to say about that. It was just bad, right? Whereas like with the other queens can say, okay, these are maybe the specific reasons why it was good or why it was bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then Aura saying, I can't believe I was just safe. Aura, literally, I could not remember what she did. I went back and rewatched it and still couldn't remember what she did. And then when I realized what she did, she basically just stood there in every frame and was like, I get it. Cheeks. Halo.
And that's what I think is so messed up about the judging, is because at least Poppy had jokes and had done some of the writing of this or whatever. I'm sorry. I had high hopes for Aura going into this. I just have no confidence. There's like an overconfidence and not self-awareness of how, and it was blatantly clear and untucked that she was like, I mean, our group did really well. They were like, your whole group is in the bottom right now, except for Lucy out there. The group that you were coming for is all safe. Like, she was like, what? And had to like stand up and count. But I just like, I'm really worried for her. Like, I just think there's a lack of awareness of what's going on. In this competition, I'm worried for her, not just.
I hope that Lucy has other impersonations up her sleeve, because if she just like blew her load with Dolly Parton in this challenge right before Snatch Game, I'm gonna be like, okay, like what else, girl? Because we can't see this twice in a row.
Right.
I'm gonna hope she's been doing this for 12 years. She has one other impersonation, or at least someone else she felt comfortable with. I mean, she knows Snatch Game is coming, right? So we'll find out next week. So let's talk about lastly team number 1 that had 2 of the top queens with Sasha and Lux. So this is team Anitra, Lux, Sasha, S Titties, and Marsha.
Selena S Titties. Oh, just one thing to say about Selena. Like, I love Selena S Titties. Like, she's one of the loud queens that sometimes you get annoyed with. You're like, oh my god, you're laying it on thick. But I don't get that impression from her at all. I feel like she's just like that. Like, she's just a loud bitch. And I fucking love it. I love it.
Yes. And I truly think she was robbed here. I thought she did a great job as the person being led through the afterlife. I think Sasha Colby deserved both the win and like the props here, not just for her look, but I know it got like the neck crack, it was funny the first 2 or 3 times. Then it got unfunny, and then it got funny again. Like, I was like,
We went on a whole roller coaster journey for that.
I was like, I was cracking up. I stopped. I was like, is this too much? And then I cracked up again. So I like that, and I feel like Selena should have won. But I think I think she should have been in the top. But I think her look kind of brought it down, because
Kind of.
Lux look, oh my god, like that molten gold over chocolate.
Okay.
I was like, they got up there and they were like, we got to make up stuff about the show, because we just really want to talk about how good she looks, because she's great as the psychologist, but I mean, it was cool, you know, it wasn't anything to write home about.
I honestly think that what got people in the top and the bottom this week had nothing to do with the acting challenge. It had everything to do with the runway. Although if that were the case, Selena would be in the bottom for sure. Because that runway was a whole mess.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Like,
no, honestly,
I know she's repping her hood, but I'm
like,
like,
if we took off the signs and the little like lampshade head thing, like, I want to see it without that, because I think the bodysuit underneath, I think there's something there. I just can't see it because of the signs all over the place.
Yeah.
But yes, if this may have knocked her down.
yeah, it's different. It's if anything else, it is definitely different, and it's still like you can tell like it's made with intention. So like I'm excited to see how she interprets all of these runways. I don't think that all of them will land, but I'm still excited because I think that she puts a lot of thought into like what she wears. Like even like her workroom entrance look. I was like, this is so not typical, but also I kind of understand who you are as well. Like it's very interesting.
Yeah, I love that she reps her culture. I'm sorry, Beth.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, like that is quintessential like Drag Race. That's that's all the queens that I normally love do. And like, you know, Monet, Mohart, like I love that. And so that part is always, like Aman said, I love that she's loud. I love that she's like, yes, this is me, and she's gonna show it to me every runway. And I give her mad props for that. Like that's the biggest thing. I just did not like this look though. But I love her. Like,
I'll be honest in that I think her drag, what I love the most about it is that it's not for everybody. Like, and yet she's gotten on a platform that has tried very hard to get people to kind of assimilate to an idea of what makes good drag or not, which is the con of something like Drag Race. So I may not like that look. I love the intention of the look behind it, right? And I love that you, like you all said, like you can see what her thought process was.
I do want to go back to Luxe Noir London ending up in the top, because oh my gosh, this flowy gold just looks so good. It looks like metal, but it also looks like liquid. The true liquid gold looks absolutely stunning on her, and the way that she works it on the runway is just like absolutely stunning. So that's why when I was like, to me, there were sort of a clear top two, and then that third spot was a little bit up for debate. It was like, yeah, okay, because her runway look was stunning.
Give it to her.
I mean, I thought she did okay in the challenge. I thought that like she definitely like established a character with the psychologist role and like sort of like made it stand out more than it normally, I guess, would have if it were in other hands. So I thought I definitely agreed that, you know, she was, I mean, and a part of that also being that she was in the group that had the best skit overall, and then it was just structured the best. You could follow. It was a through line that just was lacking in the other one. So I just feel like that really just elevated her positioning. So
I really like this skit. You know, it felt a little bit more infomercially to me. I mean, I really feel like they hit every beat. Like this was a true drag queen heaven, is like being told you're the best, not having to work for your money, you know? And then the ending punchline of, oh, it's Palm Springs where queens go to die. I was like, oh, the shade at Bianca. Like it hit every single beat. I was like, I almost felt like they should have gotten a team win for this, to be quite honest.
It was like actually storyboarded.
Yeah.
I mean, that was,
Right.
and I think, you know, the neck crack, even if we went on a roller coaster with that, it allowed you to have very clear delineation between the scenes. Instead of some of the other ones, it was just like, oh, and now we're going over here, and now we're going over here, you know,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing. Whereas
Look over
this one
here. Look over there.
over here. It was okay. So we have the setup of Selena dying as a local queen. Love that. And then we kind of go to all of these different beats. And like you said, end with the Palm Springs joke. So that really just made it look like a cohesive sort of, you know, unit and story that they were telling. And so I think the way that they did that, like, was very purposeful and very
Mhm.
clear. And that is what helped with the overall understanding of what they were doing and what their concept was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It was like they used Christmas Carol as like the basis of it, you know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
pick
Yeah.
the chains and we go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, overall when we look at this challenge, I don't know how much I'm going to remember of this challenge in general. I don't think that it particularly stands out.
The
I
next
think
step. I think the next step will go down in like, I think it'll be referenced in future seasons in some
I could
point.
see that. I mean, I could even
Mhm.
see it being referenced further down the line in this season also
Mhm.
of becoming, you know, what is
Next
like one of
week.
the exactly what is one of the inside
Yeah.
jokes that like sort of makes it out of this sort of jumbled mess that was this challenge. I'm not mad that they tried something new. I think actually the idea when Rue said an infomercial, like I had a very clear vision in that in my head. I just think that that didn't necessarily translate to what the queens per se were
Right.
doing, which, you know, fine. But it's just I think it's so hard with so many queens, which,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure we're going to feel next week as well.
Mhm.
Let's talk about some of the run. Oh, yeah, Beth, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Nope.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the other runway looks. I want to kick things off with the winner of this week's challenge,
Mhm.
Miss
Mm.
Sasha Colby.
Mhm.
This looks amazing.
Mhm.
Amazing, 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 amazing.
I
have no
know.
notes.
I know, I have
Honestly,
no
like that. I mean, I know that they were all like pleased to see her when she walked into the workroom last week, but like the first thing that would have crossed my mind would have been like, well, that's it for the runways then, because I mean it's
Yeah.
Sasha Colby. The minute that she gets on Drag Race, I'm sure every designer or whoever is going to be like, please let me do one of your outfits for one of the runways. She's going to have the absolute best runways the entire season. Like it's over. It's over. Like
Yeah.
I loved her line about winning the challenge and then being like, I can now afford this outfit. I was like, oh God, you got to win every week because I know you're bringing some expensive stuff.
Mhm.
And she
If I
came out
had-
first, right?
She came out first. How are you going to follow that? I mean, Lux came out
No,
second. And Lux.
Anitra came out.
Oh,
Oh,
see, I
well,
forgot.
Rude.
see?
Okay.
That's rude. I'm
Which
so
she
sorry.
was
What
fine. She
eclipse?
also had like the flowing silvery fabric, which the directive this week was, I think, Metallica. So just something like
Yeah.
metallic. But this comes out after you forget everything you've seen before.
So
know.
I can't tell if I like this or not. If so, this might be a critique, but I don't know if I like that. And this is just physics. That some of them look like they're kind of falling over, like some of the like feathery spikes in the back, like they're not supported super well. So I'm not. I don't know if they're supposed to be spikes or like feather kind of thing. And if
Feathers,
they're more
yeah.
feather like, then I don't care.
Mhm.
But I guess like that was the one thing that I found a little distracted with the look every once in a while. But like, to be honest with you, this
Can I
was
s-
clearly the best.
I don't think I like this directive for them. Like the Metallica category.
Mm.
Because I think it can go cheap. And I think we saw cheap, you know, and I don't want to blame the queens for that because I think it's really hard to make a metal look like this.
Expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like expensive. And I think we had, like we said, we had Anitra, we had Sasha, we had London, and Lux. After that, I started to be like, oh, this is like it really did feel like it went downhill.
I think it was based off of Raja's look here. This is my interpretation of something very like metallic that looks very cool, something like this. I mean, it wasn't explicitly mentioned, but something that was brought back. So if I had to guess, that would be my assumption. But Mari, I can definitely see where you're coming from. I think that, and this was a look I think that had some polarizing opinions based on, let me try to pull it up here, what we saw in Untucked with some of the comments from the queens. But Jax's look, I think, was one that's not a good, let me pull a better image of that. But that was one that I mean, I don't know if you feel like this was an example of what came out looking cheap, but I just was like not a huge fan of this one.
I loved the concept of this because I used to play as
Mhm.
Jax all
Yes.
the time in Mortal Kombat 2 and 3, or 3. I mean, I loved it. What I didn't like was the rest of the outfit, to be perfectly
Mhm.
frank with you. And
Yeah.
if it had been a little bit more dragged up in a way, like rather than just kind of like, I guess they're kind of short cut off, booty short kind of feels with like a, I hate to say it like this, but kind of like a basic knee-high heeled boot. Like if there had been some other elements into it, like you're doing drag, like drag it up more, make Jax like a fierce like queen, then
Yeah.
I would have been like here for it. I think that this was just, the concept was great. I just think the execution was a little weaker.
Yeah. I always enjoy when there's like a couple of queens on the runway that like take the theme and like make it their own, like doing a video game character named Jax, or
Mhm.
if someone, because it was Metallica, like you could like
Mhm.
dress up as like some big ass guitar to honor the
Like,
rock
yeah,
band,
the
band.
Metallica, something like that. So like, I always appreciate that risk, but it just you have to make sure that it is still dragged out, because I don't know if Michelle or RuPaul know who Jax is from Mortal Kombat. They're just gonna see, oh, so you just put on some metal arms and that's it. Okay, girl. Like,
Yeah.
good luck. Like,
I think she was missing body. I think
Yeah.
the critique, some body like Jax with like some boobs, some hips, a small waist. I think it would have been good. I think unfortunately the arms and everything got really top heavy. And because it didn't look like, I don't think she was corseted. It was no shape. There was no shape. What
There
did
was
these
no
queens have against
proportionizing.
padding this
Yes.
season? Come on, let's pad, y'all. Let's body. I think
Okay.
that was the main thing.
Think about some other looks you guys want to talk about. I am going to briefly mention this dog from
Yes.
Spice's look.
I always wanted one of those as a kid.
Oh my God, Aman. I had the exact same reaction. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I want one of those so bad. Like, when I was a kid, like so bad. It did the flips and it was just so cute. And I wanted one and I never had one. And so
never
this
got
is
one.
Commercials would always come on like Cartoon Network or something, and I
Yes.
always wanted it so bad.
Same. Anyway,
My-
so
My parents were like, "You have an actual dog. Like you don't need."
you don't need this one. My favorite.
I
Anyway.
did like the twins look because I think that going for kind of like not quite alien robot kind of looks, I think that fits well. It's using a metallic look. And I think that there was almost two different kinds of metallic. When you think of metallic, there's like literally metal, but then there's also the kind of fabric that looks metallic. And I think they went for the latter, and I thought that their outfits looked great. So
For
I liked
me, I think I had to like step out of my taste for this one because like I said, for the metal concept to me, I'm thinking metallic. I'm thinking like your golds, your silvers, your bronzes, stuff like that. And so when I was seeing people come down with like colored metal, it kind of took me out of it, but I was like, okay, take that away. Did you like the outfit? And for Princess Poppy, I was like, no.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Bring up Princess Poppy if you can for a second, because I think Princess Poppy has a very distinctive style that we've now seen, this kind of tutu-esque kind of skirt that's really short.
She
Like
loves the
little
silhouette.
Tinkerbell pixie type
Yeah,
look.
she loves the silhouette. She loves, exactly. And I truly don't think it's a bad look. I just think when you compare it to what other queens were doing, it's just kind of okay. You know what I mean? This hair matching exactly the dress is incredible to me. Like I
Yeah.
love that so much. I just don't think it was like enough. Like it's a cute outfit, but she's really understated. I also kind of just want to take a second here and go, she talked a lot of shit to go home this episode. And I think her kiss of death truly was an Untucked, where she was like, I don't care if I go home. I mean, I don't want to go home, but if I do, like, I was considering quitting drag last year, and like, I didn't want to be first out, so yay, met that goal, and now it's whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, then bye. Like,
Mhm.
but I truly think Poppy would be a queen that I would love to see live. I just don't know if this was the platform for her, to be perfectly frank.
Mhm.
I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think you know Princess Poppy? Because I feel like that first episode, we barely got anything from her. And from what I remember of Meet the Queens, and maybe it's just from her name, I really got like kind of like boring, subdued, just like a look queen. And at the tail end of this episode, we see she has like more of these like very like sarcastic jokes, kind of blue humor, very like kooky-ish. I don't know if that's the right word, but I was like, I like this queen better. But the Princess Poppy moniker and what I had in my head doesn't match it. And so I'm kind of wondering when she was leaving, I was kind of wondering, was this supposed to be like was it supposed to be an ironic naming and aesthetic? Like, was she supposed to like look like a princess and look put together and look like your typical drag queen, but honestly be like really weird and wild and under it, because like the burping, the flicking people off, calling people losers, I would have never got that from her from what we had seen previously to this.
She seemed to always give me because this was the same girl that had like the I'm homophobic shirt on. Is that's Princess?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
So I feel like she's always sort of been like very irreverent and very like just like that's just sort of like what her humor has been. I do agree with you though in that I feel like yes, I mean it was a jam-packed episode last week, so we really didn't get to see or get to know a lot of them super duper well. And I mean, like I said at the beginning, I feel like this season has so many hungry queens, and I feel like all of them leaving, I'm going to be like, oh, wow, like I really wish that I could have seen more. But with Poppy in particular, to like watch like what she was going through during Untucked, where she's talking about, I wasn't even sure if I really wanted to do this. And then when I went on, I was like, as long as I don't go home first. And just to watch her sort of like be like, okay, well, if I go, I'm okay with it. I was like, I don't know. It sort of like did sort of like leave a weird kind of taste in my mouth because Mistress then jumps in and is like, well, that's not really cool. Like you should be here because like you want this with every fiber of your being. And she clarifies saying, well, I do want it, but like at the same time, I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm not going to like go home and be like, oh my God, like I'm a worthless person because I was out second on a season of Drag Race. So like I do appreciate that balance that she has in her mind, but it did still feel very much like, oh well. And I was like, I know there's a queen right now that's sitting watching this that is like, how did I not make this and she did? Like
I think that what she was trying to get across, but wasn't effectively doing so, was this idea that if you ever put yourself up for a drag race, a Big Brother, a Survivor, anything like that, that you have to be okay with any and all outcomes, or else it can destroy you. Like if you go home first, or if you win, or if you just get to the very last and then you fall short, or whatever the case is, you have to be at peace with that. Because we've seen so many people on any given show who are just not okay after that. Like it literally ruins their health, their mental life, whatever. So I think what she was trying to say was, my goal for myself was to not be the first out. I was happy with any other placement. I'm genuinely okay if I need to go home. But I don't think that she was trying to say, I want to go home, or if I go home, I'm not going to be upset. I think what she was trying to say was like, I made peace with myself that this would be something like an outcome that I'd be okay with. And I could sense that from her. But I do think, keep that to yourself. Like, that's a thing that you write in your journal when you get back to to the hotel, and don't say in front of cameras when the judges are deliberating.
So not to pull something from outside of the show, because I know some people don't like that. So if you want to skip ahead on this, you can. But she was at Roscoe's, I think, doing a like for the watch party of the episode, and talked about how she had COVID 2 weeks before going on the show. And then talked about how she was still popping a positive COVID test like a week before.
Oh, shit.
And then she read online, or her boyfriend told her or something like that, that if you put chapstick on the inside of your nostrils, it will help to prevent the detection of COVID. So she put chapstick up there, did the test, and then I guess it tested negative and was able to go on the show. And so she's come under a lot of fire for this for pretty obvious
Whoa.
reasons. So that
Why?
was a little tidbit.
Please don't do that, people. Please don't.
Okay,
do
so
that.
she just is suffering from shut the fuck up syndrome. Like, why
Yeah.
would you admit that?
Well, one, why would you do it? And then two, why would you admit it? If you're gonna do it, why would you say
What
that?
I mean,
the
could you
hell?
imagine if it on Tuck she was like, clearly I want this. I faked not having COVID to be on here. Then could you imagine like okay, we get it. You want to be here, but what the
I mean,
what's wrong with you?
probably wasn't contagious, but at the same time, like that just is like a very big wait, what kind of moment? Like, sorry, you did what? So
I'll be
yeah, that was a
honest
thing.
in that it was kind of a shock to me in the beginning of the episode to see her come in so hot of just trying to be shady. Like it didn't come off as being shady. It just came off as like I'm kind of a bitch, honestly. And then watching her, like clearly she's a comedy queen. We knew that from the Meet the Queens video. Like that's
I
what
did
she
not know that.
I mean, this is what she kind of talks about in the Meet the Queens video is like her being like, yeah, like I think a lot of people look at me and they think I'm a look queen, but really my bread and butter is comedy. Like I'm not. And she like does this whole thing where she's like, yeah, I'm a really good choreographer, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not. I'm really bad at all that stuff. And like, but to your point, Mari, is like, it's all of these things that you can't tell what's the truth or not with her. And that's what's
Yeah.
really difficult. And I just generally think like I've been to San Francisco and I've seen their drag scene a few different times. And I understand like probably some of this is from the San Francisco drag scene where it's very sarcastic, it's very irreverent, and at the same time, very well put together.
Yeah.
And so I think that she's a product of her scene, but didn't know how to translate in a way that like people outside of the Castro are going to understand.
Yeah.
I think irreverent is the best way to describe her. If you look at everything that she did on the show, so we have what she did in the very first episode with the like weirdo puppet, which I'm not gonna lie, I was a fan of.
I was throwing money at it.
Then we had this episode where she even talks about how I wrote most of the jokes, so the jokes, so we know what the jokes were. And then the third thing that we have, I think, from what we've seen of her on this season, is this lip sync, which I think we really need to address, which is Diana Ross. So Amethyst. If you missed the episode, Diana Ross is in the bottom. No, Amethyst and Princess Poppy are in the bottom, and they're going to sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Diana Ross. And we have two extraordinarily different takes on the song. And so I think when you look at Princess Poppy sort of, initially starting a little bit slow, but then going like total comedy route, which is from all of the other Queen's confessionals, like not the right choice to do for Diana Ross here, which is what allows Amethyst to win. And I mean, I honestly could have seen a world where Princess Poppy sends home Amethyst if she just does a, traditional, I guess, take on the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think that Amethyst is once again helped by her hair. She has kind of like
the bounce.
Like she can do the bounce portion that we know from All Stars 3. Bibi Zahara Benet doesn't have to do anything except for that, and she can just win a challenge as Diana Ross. And I think that Princess Poppy's lip sync was stronger from an entertainment value. Like I wanted to watch and see what she was going to do next. But to the Queen's point, this is like RuPaul's most sacred singer. Like the point of the lip sync with Diana Ross is to not commit rule number 1, which is make RuPaul laugh. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you gotta capture that illusion and that essence. Yeah,
exactly. And Amethyst had the gown with the non-matching boots that helped too. and Amethyst was singing lead vocals. She was singing lead vocals the whole time, which which is always a good thing. It's very bold too, because you might be standing there not saying much depending on what part of the track you're in. But I mean, Princess Poppy did a good comedic take on it.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, like I personally don't want to be looking at your tuck while you're singing ain't no mountain high enough. That's just me
Yeah.
personally, and that's probably rude personally. You have to know how to play this game.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
Amethyst, who's also a TikTok queen, a student of RuPaul's Drag Race, the twins, I think they know. I think they know. They watch this, they consume this, and they know the cardinal sins. And I mean,
Mm.
as people who watch strategy reality competition, I'm not mad at that. But you know, other people who love to watch drag to be entertained might not like that. They might want to see what Princess Poppy does more. And I like the
Yeah.
fact, Beth, that you brought up like San Francisco drag, because maybe it's more of like RuPaul and the judges not liking San Francisco drag. Because when I think of that, I think of like Rock and Sakura, and I'm like, I loved everything Rock did, and then she ended up going home around this time as well too. So it's very interesting. And just before I stop talking, was Poppy the one who stole the other queen's line as well? I come from somewhere that has natural disasters. Was that
Shoot,
her?
the entrance line. No, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember who it was. I'll try to
In the
find
Meet
that.
the Queens.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought it was her.
I
When
forget. Yeah.
I think you're right.
I
Yeah.
think it was her, because I remember it being like it's either a San
Something
Francisco
about
queen
natural
or a Seattle.
disasters, right? That was her
Yes.
intro
Yeah.
line. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I can look that up.
It was one
Yeah.
of her Meet the Queen lines.
So, um, so
just hold it real quick.
this is RuPaul's. If you're watching the video version, this is RuPaul's face watching Princess Poppy, and I think that kind of tells you everything you need to know about her feelings towards Poppy's interpretation.
Yeah.
It's just very much this like kind of like grimacy, like ooh kind of look.
Really?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
really.
There's almost like a
Really?
Miranda Priestley look to this.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I feel. I mean, it was a very interesting lip sync to watch because I was entertained by Princess Poppy, except for like the crotch thing was very much like like this song is not only is this song like, I mean, it's RuPaul and he loves Diana Ross, but like the song in general is so much just like a song about like just feeling free to love someone with all of your heart. And like that's not really a song that you want to like pop your pussy to. Like you want to
Well,
really
speak for yourself, Aman.
You didn't see me get down Friday night, thank you.
Yeah.
you just want to feel like that the joy that song has. And while I was entertained, and a piece of me was like, when we get the confessional with Amethyst and she's like, I mean, is this a meet and greet? Like this, like what is she doing? This is Diana Ross. A piece of me was like, oh well, let's let her do what she's gonna do. Like this is like her interpretation. And a piece of me was like, that doesn't mean you're gonna win just because you're not doing all that. But like, no, it kind of does. Like you have to, like Mari said, like you have to play the game the way that there are set rules. And sometimes some queens get away with breaking them. Sometimes, but not all the time.
You have to know the artist and the song and your audience. And there are going to be I would say 98% of the time, you could take anybody's song and do a comedic interpretation of it. And if it's funny, RuPaul is going to give you the win. Okay.
I thought the meet and greet part was fine, to be honest.
thought
I
that
thought
was
I
the
funny part.
I thought that was
Yeah.
funny.
That was great.
No one's ever really done that before. She's like, haha, and kicking with the fans, which is something that Diana Ross does when she's performing. Like she'll like come down and like talk. That was very much Diana to me. But everything else was just like
well, like with Darian Lake and Ben de la Creme with The Point of No Return, where Darian starts collecting tips, like something like that. Like,
yeah,
it didn't be bearing on the song. She's acting like a drag queen at a gig. Like, that's awesome. Nobody had done that before. It's so stupid, and we love it, right? Like, there's certain people and things that you can always do that to. You can always make like a Nicki Minaj song funny by like Ben, like Ben de la Creme doing like faces or whatever. You can have the MacArthur Park, lip syncs and such, but there are going to be songs where the whole point of lip syncing is not to make people laugh or not to like do death drops, but to emote or to make them feel like you're the one singing it. And I don't think Amethyst did that. I'm going to be honest with you, but I think that she did it much better than Poppy did. And, those are like your you make me feel like a natural woman lip syncs. Like there's a reason Kenya Michaels does not beat Latrice Royale in that because Aman, you look so good as Kenya Michaels. But I just think that, like you said, Mari, it's not even that there's set rules. It's like an intuitive nature to know is this a song that I just have to emote? And if I can't emote, what do I do? Because you can't go the comedy route. So try your best.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, yes, Mari, you were correct. The line is, I'm from San Francisco, a city known for their earthquakes, but I'm definitely the biggest disaster there. So that was the other thing. She came under fire for taking that from another queen. So yeah.
Damn, man. Yeah, she's just out here just under fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
But she's earthquaking in her boots.
Let's try that again.
Still funnier than half of the things on this past episode.
Well,
I couldn't decide if I wanted to boo you or laugh. I love that. The best kind of humor when you don't know how you want to react. Okay, awesome. Is there anything else that y'all want to talk about in terms of this episode, and then we can sort of talk preview and our thoughts on the Snatch Game coming up? Awesome. Let's talk about our thoughts on the Snatch Game coming up, because Beth, you were saying there's going to be 2 different Snatch Games.
There are going to be 2 Snatch Games. I think they're splitting the queens in half. We'll have 14 queens, so 7 and 7, which I think makes much more sense from a formatting standpoint if you're going to do a Snatch Game this early with this many queens.
Yeah.
However, last time they did 2 Snatch Games, we had an hour and a half episode, and it was all winners, and we were excited for that. I'm not excited for 2 Snatch Games because normal seasons, regular season Snatch Games, tend not to be the best. So
I'm a little hopeful only because I understand that like one of the themes of this season is the biggest season ever, right? The biggest queens, the biggest jam-packed premiere, all that stuff, the biggest Snatch Game. A piece of me is hoping that means that they have a lot of confidence in the characters that the queens have auditioned with. Like, to me, it seems like they're like, oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. I don't want to I want that to be on TV. So let's just do it while they're all still here, and we'll get as many good impersonations as we can. With that being said, though, again, we need more time because you can even if everyone does this smash hit out of the ballpark job, we're still gonna want I don't want it to be like the runway where it's just you get one little quick line from all of them and then it's that's it. So I'm hopeful, but I'm also if it is good, then I want to revel in it. I don't want to have to feel rushed. Let me soak it all up. So we'll see.
I'm really wondering where the fat is going to be trimmed here, because if we have 2 Snatch Games, maybe we get no walkthrough,
no deliberation, no walkthroughs.
I bet that they don't even do a runway. They just come out in their outfits and get judged. No, I'm being serious. They've done that before. Remember?
Oh, by the way, I love the fact that they kept Catwalk as the runway song.
Oh, I knew that. The moment it started playing, I was like, Aman's getting his life right now.
I love that song.
I could see them literally cutting the runway or doing even faster what they did this time. Being Lucy LaDuca, Sugar, Anisha. It just
throw or at the same time.
I could also, if they split up the Snatch Game, I could see them doing literally almost 2 episodes in one. This group, we do Snatch Game, we then do the second Snatch Game, but then we do the first runway, do critiques, do the second runway, do critiques, kind of thing. I don't know.
The queens are going to be super shocked when they announce it, Snatch Game, oh, this early, oh my god.
They look shocked, but they kind of always look shocked whenever Snatch Game gets announced. It's kind of or they're going to cut to the queen that has the biggest reaction.
Yeah,
they have been told. We've seen interviews from queens who will say they literally have them do those reactions multiple times to be could you guys be a little bit more excited about this guest judge that none of you know? That would be great. That kind of thing.
Oh, no reading challenge maybe too,
I have to imagine that it's going to be, I think we will probably still get the walkthrough. I just think it's going to be chopped down. And I could see, unfortunately, them doing something with chopping down the runway. I think, again, like based on this, okay, it's one data point, but still, based on this week's episode, it was like they're still trying to hit everything that they hit in an hour and a half episode, just doing it in a shorter fashion. And so if they're going to continue that trend, then I think we're going to see the same things. Obviously, I think no mini challenge. So yeah,
Right.
Mari, no reading challenge, at least this week. Maybe it'll be in future weeks. But it's going to be the same beats we normally hit, just chopped up and just a little bit shorter. I am agreeing totally with you guys that I hope that it doesn't come at the expense of the actual Snatch game itself, because
Right.
I want my full like 7 minutes. Please,
Yeah.
is it too much to ask? I know a third of the episode, 40 or 15 minutes out of essentially a 45-minute episode dedicated to the Snatch game, but it's worth it. Like, this is one of the staple challenges on Drag Race. It's something that everybody looks forward to, even if we're too overexcited about it. And it never turns out the way that we expect. Still, we're excited, and still we want to see it play out in full. We want to see what these queens have to offer. I love Aman's theory about the fact that there were just so many good queens doing impressions in their audition packages, that's the reason why they decided to do it so early. I'm really hoping that that is indeed the case, and that we'll actually then get to see the queens execute what they know how to do.
This year they said we're going to cast as many people who had good Snatch games to make up for the fact that last year's Snatch game was so horrible, where Lil Jon had to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think there's some queens that I'm worried for, queens like Aura for this week. I'm worried if Sugar and Spice can't get out of their ditziness, I'm worried for them. If they can do a character who's ditzy, great, but are they going to do something that's so different enough? I have no sense of what they're going to do. Like, are they going to do like Barbie? And
are they going to do like?
Are they going to be in the same Snatch game?
Yeah, are they going to do the same character?
Are
they going to do other twins? Are they going to do like Mary Kate,
the Olsen?
Literally. What are they going to do?
Well, we'll have to see. All right. Next week, yes, we have full Snatch ready to look at. Can't wait. 2 Snatches, in fact. My favorite. Let's get out of here and close things out. So, Mari, thank you so much for coming on with us today. It's always wonderful to hear all of your thoughts about Drag Race as a whole, and especially this season. Where can people find you on social media, and what do you have going on?
Whew, so glad to come on. I love Drag Race. I love you guys. So this is always amazing. You can find me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much. That's 2 like the number 2. Of course, every week, me and Matt Scott break down the wrestling. On the Wrestling RHAPup, we break down the highlights of the weekend in wrestling. This week, he was absent. So actually, my other co-host, Sarah Carradine from Crime Scene, came over and took over wrestling with me. So if you want a double dose of me and Sarah, you can watch us on the Wrestling RHAPup at robhasawebsite.com/wrestling feed to go subscribe, or you can find us just like you guys on the RHAP YouTube page. And then you can see me and Sarah on Crime Scene on Tuesdays. Every Tuesdays we drop Crime Scene on RHAP. This week coming up, we have a great guest because it's Chappelle, and we're talking about the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker from Netflix, the Netflix documentary. So go check out Crime Scene. If you didn't know, RHAP has a true crime podcast. So go subscribe by going to robhasawebsite.com/crime feed.
Okay. And Aman, we missed you so much. We're happy that you're back. Where can people find you on social media? Anything else you want to plug?
I missed you guys too. I'm glad to be back. I'm excited for this season. It's gonna be a good one. I'm like holding on to the hope that we're gonna feel this way the entire way through. And yeah, you're gonna find me at Aman Adwin everywhere. And yeah, right now I'm just here for Drag Race for right now. Yep.
And Beth, go ahead, girl.
Thanks. You can find me at AugustaWind11 on all of my different social media platforms. Because it's related to what we're doing here, over on My Weekly Meltdown, we're actually kind of in between seasons of everything. So we decided for our patrons only, we were doing All Stars 2 Drag Race. My co-hosts, Allison and Tyler, have never seen it before. I've only seen a couple of Drag Race seasons. And so it is so much fun. So if you're interested in following us over there, please do so. But other than that, it's mostly rocking the Drag Race coverage here on TV RHAPups.
Fantastic. And you can find me on Twitter at Liana RHAP. Also, rocking the Drag Race content until Survivor Masked Singer come back. So thank you everyone for listening. If you want to leave your star ratings and reviews for us on iTunes, you can do so at robhasawebsite.com/drag race. Beth, I know you were very happy we got a review that was very complimentary. So we always appreciate hearing y'all's kind words. Thank you to Scott St. Pierre and the whole RHAP team for all their help behind the scenes. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.